I'm Ian Dille.
And I am Michael Sheehan. We're here. We made it. The last big week of the 2019 road cycling season, the week leading up to the final monument, Il Lombardia.
We are going to get into the favorites and underdogs for this final monument of the season. But first, we want to talk about Il Lombardia and its position on the calendar in October, so far away from every other major one-day race on the UCI calendar.
Yeah, it is the fall after all. It seems like cycling interest just steadily wanes after the Tour de France finishes. That's kind of the big show of the entire year. After that, fans get on the internet and start saying annoying things like cross is coming. But we think that there may be an opportunity here in the point of the season where Lombardia is, because you have this massive Classics week in Belgium in the springtime when everybody's so excited about the Classics, and you still have a string of one-day races in the fall that just does not get the credit it's due.
Yeah, so we start with the World Championships at the end of September, and over the last 3 years, RCS, the company that owns Il Lombardia as well as the Giro d'Italia, Milan-San Remo, and Strade Bianche, they have positioned Lombardia well on the calendar around a number of important one-day races in Italy. These are mostly UCI 1-point-HC events, Tre Valli Firenze, Milano-Torino, GP Bigelli, Giro dell'Emilia, a lot of really good one-day races, but none of them are World Tour races. They're still drawing great fields, but they don't carry quite the cachet of a race like Il Lombardia, or to mention the Tour of Flanders, Roubaix, Milan-San Remo, or Liège-Bastogne-Liège.
Yeah, and think in the spring when we have this fantastic festival of classics. One weekend you have Tour of Flanders, you have a string of one-day World Tour races, and then the next weekend is Paris-Roubaix. This is, in my opinion, the height of excitement of the cycling season. I love the classics, and we have an opportunity to make a second week of festivities in the fall. I think that we just need another monument of sorts to complement Lombardia.
If only there was another classic race that's currently held in the spring that people have been clamoring to become the sixth monument in professional cycling.
Wait, you don't mean Strade Bianche, do you?
The gravel race of all gravel races, the race on the white Tuscan roads, Strade Bianche should be moved to the fall to complement Il Lombardia. It could be held the weekend after the World Championships. Il Lombardia could come the week after that, where it currently sits right now. And in between, you could have all these wonderful one-day Italian races, Milano-Torino, Tre Valli, holding up a beautiful fall classic season.
I really like that, because when you think about it, there's nothing that Milano-Torino has that a race like E3 Harelbeke doesn't have. It's just at a part of the season that isn't given its due, but there's so much opportunity there. The World Championships in September, and then two more huge one-day weekends after that. I think we're onto something here.
Yeah, I think the interest waning after the Tour de France, I think that's fine. I really enjoy the second half of the cycling season. It has great storylines. It gives racers who got injured, who suffered bad luck during the early part of the season. I mean, just think about how many racers build their entire season around the Tour de France and don't even make it a week in. It gives them an opportunity to win big races, to get big results, and so we just need to make the second half of the season bigger. I think stealing some of the thunder from early March would be just fine. Move Strade Bianche where it belongs to the fall alongside Il Lombardia. What could go wrong?
Probably a few things. It could just totally tank, because there is a chance that people just don't care about cycling after the Tour de France.
That is a fair point. I think Milano-Torino is actually a good example of that. Milano-Torino is like 140 years old. It sort of used to be the Strade Bianche of the previous century. It came before, the week before Milan-San Remo was a big build-up race. It was moved to the fall and kind of lost its luster. But I don't see the same thing happening to Strade Bianche. We are seeing new interest in Il Lombardia and the races surrounding it. The rosters we've seen line up, in particular at Tre Valley, are just super impressive. Full World Tour fields, stacked rosters of world-class riders.
And if you don't know, you can watch all of these one-day classics on FloBikes, live and on demand. Tre Valley, Milano, Torino, the whole lot of them, all leading up to Lombardia.
Of course, Lombardia. Let's get into that. Let's get into our favorites and underdogs for Lombardia. Who are we kicking off with?
Okay, I have to say Primoz Roglic. The form that he has been on since the World Championships, he was a little bit anonymous at the World Championships, made a great breakaway in the road race, didn't work out for him, but in these Italian one-day classics, he's just been riding people off of his wheel.
Literally
off of his wheel. We saw him charge up the climb to the Sanctuary di San Luca, interestingly the same place where he won the opening time trial of the Giro d'Italia this year. Of course, the Giro dell'Emilia has the same finishing climb as this year's Giro d'Italia prologue. Primoz Roglic showed that he is once again the strongest person on this hill and dropped everybody who was left in the race. He then did it again at Tre Valley Veracine, breaking away in the final kilometer. Primoz Roglic has come back onto very, very good form after winning the Vuelta and looks to be the clear favorite for Il Lombardia.
Yeah, it's super impressive to see Primoz winning one-day races like this, especially when everybody knows he's the strongest rider. I mean, okay, Giro dell'Emilia, it was just the strongest guy to ride up that climb at the end, and he clearly was the strongest, rode Mike Woods right off his wheel. But at Tre Valley, he had a perfectly timed attack out of a small group in the final kilometer to go away solo for the victory. He's definitely the odds-on favorite for Lombardia and has a ridiculously stacked team around him. Of course, Sepp Kuss, George Bennett, Lawrence De Plus, and I think Steven Kruijswijk as well. Probably the best team in the bike race. So it's Primoz Roglic's race to lose, but Mike Woods and EF Education First might have something to say about that. Il Lombardia has kind of been the white whale of Mike Woods' career. The first year he did this race, he actually was in the lead group in position for a podium and got dropped on the descent down to the finish. Last year he suffered shifting problems on the descent of the Civiglio climb and again was out of the running for a podium placing. This year he's coming into the race with great form. Wasn't really able to show that off at the World Championships due to the course and the weather and the legs he had on the day, but he has been riding incredibly well over this last week in the Italian Classics.
Yeah, and we know that he can go uphill with everybody at Lombardia. Third time may just be the charm if he can get himself down this descent of the Civiglio, get that monkey off of his back. Egan Bernal has to be a favorite for Lombardia after the ride that we saw him produce in the 2018 edition. It was just absolutely phenomenal. This was his first year on Team Ineos, then Team Sky. He had just come back from a really catastrophic crash. Egan Bernal, he raced for Androni Giaccoli. He knows these Italian technical, twisty, very, very tricky descents. He knows them so well. He is very, very capable on them, and everybody knows what the Tour de France winner can do on the climbs.
Yeah, and I just have to say, I am loving seeing these Grand Tour riders line up for these one-day classics and go for the win. Egan Bernal, the winner of the Tour de France, of course, Primoz Roglic, Vuelta a España. I feel like it's something relatively new in the sport. We are not seeing Geraint Thomas line up for these one-day races or Chris Froome gunning for the victory. So kudos to these guys. They're making the bike races super exciting. Let's get to Jakob Fuglsang, of course, the winner of Liège-Bastogne-Liège. He is looking to add another monument to his really amazing season that he has had. Did not have the Tour de France that he wanted, but lined up at the Vuelta a España saying that he was really going to use it as fitness for late season goals, and Il Lombardia is pretty much it. He will be backed by incredibly strong Astana team as well.
Yeah, Luisleand Sanchez also going quite well at the moment, who will be a great counterpart for Jakob Fuglsang. Let's get into some of the old dogs of the bike race.
Yeah, we don't have underdogs. We just have the old and wily dogs who could all very well win this bike race.
Yeah, first and foremost, Vincenzo Nibali. He has not been on the best form. It looks like he is looking forward to his off-season and next gig at Trek Segafredo already. However, you cannot count out the Shark of Messina when it comes to Il Lombardia. He is always there or thereabouts, having won it and got in second, I believe, the last 2 years.
Yeah, Nifli has not shown great form. We could put a highlight reel together of him getting dropped this season. GP Quebec, Giro dell'Emilia, he was off the back well before the fireworks really kicked off. But yeah, you never know. He seems to target these one-day races incredibly well. Alejandro Valverde, of course, the former world champion, another rider, very wily, and was recently second at GP Bigelli, so he is also obviously on form.
And last but not least, Philippe Gilbert. The Yorkshire World Championships was a massive disappointment for me watching Philippe Gilbert crash out as he made his way onto the finishing circuits. I know that was a massive disappointment for him as well. He had gotten himself onto such good form, winning multiple stages at the Vuelta a España. He had to have been very hungry for an attempt at the World Championships. Didn't work out for him. I think he's going to be coming to Lombardia, still carrying that form and with a bit of a chip on his shoulder and something to prove.
Yeah, and we haven't seen Gilbert display the climbing form that he had 10 years ago when he was a two-time winner of Lombardia as well as Liège-Bastogne-Liège. But he was climbing very well at the Vuelta, so he would definitely be one to watch for Lombardia. We will find out on Saturday.
Yep, all the action is, of course, going to be live and on demand on FloBikes. Please join us, watch it. We cannot wait to see the show.